always surprised that they don't call me and tell me to stop coming. So good looking out. All right, so ladies, it's awesome to see you guys. I had Miss Kayleen on last year, but this is our first one-on-one, Miss
Yes.
Paige. So let's start with you. Where are you from?
I played at Independence before here.
Independence High.
Yes.
Okay. And how was the experience playing with Independence?
It was fantastic. My first 2 years were a little rougher, and then my last 2 years, the coaching staff was incredible, and we did really, really well.
Nice. We'll talk about that coaching staff in a bit. Miss Kayleen Sanchez, where you from, man?
I'm from Valley Oaks. I went to Valley Oaks. It's a homeschool, so I didn't play tennis in high school.
Got you.
So.
I remember we talked about that too,
Yeah,
and
a little
I
bit.
remember telling you I had some cousins who also
Right,
had the
right,
Valley
right,
Oaks
yeah.
program and played on the 8-man football team. And
Yeah, it's a nice school. It's small, but it's nice.
yeah, I get a little jealous sometimes when thinking about the small school atmosphere. I was a small college guy, so I get it a bit. But so let's talk about last season before we move forward and talk about this season's expectations. Was Kayleen was able to make postseason play last year? Were
Yep.
you at all?
Yeah, a little.
Okay. Was that doubles? Were you both able to make
Paige didn't
postseason?
make it that far into the season.
Okay.
Paige had torn her ACL like third match in, so she
Got
left
you.
me.
You know what? I remember that conversation
Yeah.
now. I remember that conversation now. So reflecting back to the injury, I'm a guy that tore a knee and it cost me about $5 million.
Oof.
So I understand the pain associated with when it happens. Let's talk about the courage and commitment that it took to get past that and how that feel for you watching your teammates compete while you had to rehab.
That was rough. That was probably the worst part, worse than the pain or the rehab, was watching them play without me and not being able to help them.
I agree.
But, I mean, through the last 10, 11, 12 months, all the therapy that we've been through, and to be able to play with them now, like next to Kayleen, also is like the best thing.
Beautiful. I mean, especially when you got guys like Dr. Tibnon and Dr. Baker and Fred Smith who left us, right? It's a little sad faces, a couple sad faces for Fred. We miss you, Fred. We miss you. But just reflecting on injury itself, you can't even think about injury
Yeah.
and recovery without thinking about the great Fred Smith. So I had to throw that in there. He was actually one of my favorite guests last year too. So
He's a great guy.
Believe
yeah,
it.
definitely. So Ms. Sanchez, the funniest thing that I had happen after your last appearance on the show was my sister-in-law started tagging me in all of our screenshots from the show and like, that's my friend's daughter. And you're like, who's your sister? And I'm like, Dimitri. And she's like, I don't know her. So, but it's just a reflection of how tight our community is.
Right.
And me and Mr. Yuri, our sports communications director, we joke about it all the time about how connected I am to the community and how I can figure out who I know from somebody. So we'll figure it out before this segment's over. Paige. But just having that happen, it made me feel so great because I didn't know you from a can of paint before the show. And then afterward, I felt like, yeah, I know Kayleen. All right, the rest of the year, I'm like, yeah, go Kayleen. She's kicking butt. She made state. So that's one of the beautiful things about being part of the Renegade tradition from our perspective. So let's talk about the transition into the sophomore season from a leadership perspective, starting with Kayleen.
It's a little different. I feel like after Paige had left, I kind of had to, not necessarily pushed into that position, but just kind of had to fill in for her a little bit because we did have a couple more sophomores on the team, so they kind of, knew what was going on. But it was a lot easier for me to transition in from like a freshman to like a sophomore captain this year than obviously having Paige next to us. It's been pretty easy.
That's
and
a beautiful experience to have someone who is dedicated to the process, but still has something to prove too, right?
Right.
So let's talk about that from your perspective, Paige. I know it was tough from a rehab perspective, but now you're back. How does it feel to be in this leadership role? No matter how you competed last year, you're still a leader. So let's talk about that from your perspective.
I mean, no matter what, the best thing about being back this season is just being able to play, being next to my teammates, and above anything else, it makes me not take it for granted any more than I did last season or the season before. Just to be able to play every match is incredible. So I feel like it's easy for me to translate that enthusiasm to my teammates.
I agree, and that's one of the things that I told Coach Lee from having the sorrow of my injury at the wrong time, you go through this depression phase where you're down on yourself and you're wondering how much energy you want to give to the sport. And then there's somebody that comes and pats you on the shoulder and tells you, hey, you're going to get through this and things are going to turn out to be okay, which they did. So with that point being made, who for you was that go-to person from a morale standpoint? Because I know when I tore my knee, I was like, man, get away from me. I don't want to see nobody. I locked myself in the dorm for a week. So for you, who was the go-to person for you?
Honestly, all of our trainers. Fred, Mike, and Trish. I spent so much time with them, even through the summer and through our last winter break. Spent so much time with them, and they were so patient with me, and obviously got me through rehab very, very well. So
that's beautiful. Yeah. And no disrespect to Mike and Trish, salute to y'all as well. I just have more experience with Fred. I'm sorry, but but I have had an opportunity to be around them and see them work and get guys back on the field, especially from a football standpoint. Quarterbacks were beat up left and right. We had a different quarterback every week, and they were doing the best job they could to get people on the field to play. And it's a tough seat to be behind someone as great as Fred and have everybody so used to, his way of doing things, and now you're coming in to try to implement your same strategies and hoping that players respect you the same as they did the guy that was here for 30 years, right?
I think they definitely do.
They're very good at what they do, yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. I agree. So, salute to you, Coach Mike and Trish. So let's, moving forward, let's talk about season expectations. I know you're excited to get back out there. You've already had a couple matches. Let's talk about how it's been from a standpoint of getting back out there and competing, just straight up. Kayleen.
I mean, we're 5-0 right now. We're doing great. I think we talked about this a little last week that I think we're going to do pretty well this season.
Yeah.
I mean, we did pretty decent last year too,
agree.
But I think this might be our year.
Yeah.
I agree.
For sure.
How about you, Paige? Just from an individual standpoint, any teams that you're looking forward to playing?
Glendale. I can't wait to play Glendale. We were supposed to play them earlier and we got rained out, so they're definitely one of the tougher competition teams that we're going to play.
Is it Santa Barbara and Ventura? I think are our top three competitors right now. So.
Yeah, that's what Coach Lee said. He said he can't wait to get back to Santa Barbara.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody can't wait to get back to Santa Barbara. I mean, it's just to beat it in Santa Barbara. But, to actually give them a butt whooping in beautiful scenery is always a great thing. So ladies, I got to tell you, more than anything, being a guy that's loved all sports, I actually played a year of tennis as a kid, but wasn't able to compete because it conflicted with the sports that I thought were a priority and were going to push me up the ladder. If you had one player, or no, let me take this back. If you had one actress who could play you in a tennis movie, Paige, who would it be?
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
You said that without hesitation. I don't even know.
You see how fast she said
that? Absolutely.
Absolutely. I can see that. If you do one of those morph pictures where you take both of the faces, I think that would be
good. Thank you. That's very flattering.
Who would look good next to Jennifer Aniston?
All right. So Kayleen, who is going to play Kayleen Sanchez in the Kayleen Sanchez tennis story?
I don't even know. Help me out. Who would look good next to Jennifer Aniston?
I would say Selma Hayek would be a good one.
I feel like someone has asked me this question before, and I was like,
I have.
I wanted to answer. Yeah. I'll take that.
Oh, okay, all right. Because I asked you last year, and I made a point to ask you again because last year
I didn't even think about it. Dang it, wasn't even ready.
I was gonna see if you remember, so you can be quick on your toes. But more than anything, and I work in sports, music, and film as well, down in the Hollywood realm. So it's not a hard sell to be able to get you guys a movie done if you keep the excellence.
I mean, well, make it happen,
all right, I'm telling you, don't make me get off this phone. I'm telling you, Yuri, tell him I know everybody. so just reflecting on that, and I like to joke about that because more than anything, I'm a firm believer in the opportunity to visualize and achieve your success. And as you guys have been successful already, you have the opportunity to continue to do that, but also have some fun with it, and think about the things that you can do off the field when you're not being great on the court.
Right.
All right. So, anything else you want to leave with?
I think we've covered most of it.
All right. Well, there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about: coaches.
Oof.
Coaches' influences. And I asked you this last year too. So you get another little warm up. So Paige, I'm going to ask you. Give me a list of coaches who inspired you to be able to have the confidence in yourself to know that you can play at the next level.
Okay. So in high school, I had Jeff Peterson as a coach, and he was absolutely incredible.
He's a great guy.
He was,
Nice.
yeah, almost like a father figure. He was super supportive on and off the court. I also had Chuck Beatty
I heard
in high school.
of Coach Beatty's name.
Very, very familiar with the sport of tennis, and he definitely knew what he was doing. He's the one who helped me with a lot of technical stuff to get me ready for college. And then my first season playing at BC, I had Nick Loudermilk,
Coach Loudy.
who was incredibly intense, but very, very serious about what he does and very good at what he does. So those three, definitely.
Beautiful. I like to always reflect on the coaches who gave us the confidence to know we can compete at the next level. And it's important that the world knows that it wasn't just us and our own individual persistence that got us here. We had some help along the way,
Absolutely.
right?
Sure.
So Kayleen, let's talk about the coaches' influences that you've had over the years.
For me, it was, I said this last year's Mark Fredericks. He's been my coach since I was like 10.
I remember that.
So he kind of built up like my whole like foundation of tennis and just, gave me all my strokes and makes me look nice. But with a little over a year, I started working with Chuck Provencio.
Okay.
And he was a D1 coach at South Dakota. And so he's from here, so he came back and we worked more on like strategies and tactics and stuff. So I was able to apply my knowledge with, what I can play tennis, but how can I, use it and stuff like that. So he definitely changed my game, like mental wise, because tennis isn't just physical, it's mental for sure, and that's something I struggled with big time. And so he helped more of like my mental game and stuff. And I think those are my top two coaches that have
Definitely great to hear that, because
me.
that was the same message that Coach Austin Lee had. Tennis is more of a mental game than physical, and anytime you get out of your mental composure, it takes away from your ball placement and everything else, right?
For sure.
So ladies, I definitely got to tell you, I'm excited to see what you guys bring to the table this year. I'm excited to see how you expand on the recovery and prove to your teammates, coaches, and all the fans that were excited to see you last year that you were well worth the wait. All right?
Thank you.
Crush it.
Definitely. So Kayleen and Ms. Paige, I appreciate you, and thanks for visiting us here at Bakersfield.com.
Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
us.
All right. We'll be right back after this break with some recaps, starting with men's golf right after this.